So much changing, specifically on retention, email, SMS. Where's like the biggest bang for buck?
My biggest piece of advice is to really focus on your instant 30 grand injection just for a couple of emails. Gmail and Apple privacy, they're being more strict on like, am I going to put you in the promotions folder or am I going to put you in the spam?
Bruh.
Well, I just want to say, like, I watched one of your retention meetings that you had with the team, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I was freaking impressed. What can brands be doing specifically right now? You mentioned something which is happening with all of our brands, where things are really good in December, but then email is just not the same at the moment. And like, what are you guys doing about it?
Right now with engagement, it's obviously slowing down because we have the holiday shoppers, right? That's like a cohort specific to Q4 for a lot of brands, right? They're so used to flash sales and deals. And so what we're noticing every year, especially around this time, is just an increase in unsubscribe rates. And I feel like that's fine. And that's what I tell all the brands that we work with, because that's basically letting us know like, okay, look, they were only holiday shoppers. We want our list to be full of people that want to hear from us and want to engage with us. So as we start shifting our focus more to evergreen campaigns and creating what I'll call moments and manufacturing moments about the brand. If people just want to be here for shopping during the Q4 season and they're unsubscribing, then so be it. Let them leave. Our list is supposed to be VIP users. We want to treat them as a special audience. So if you don't want to be part of that list, unsubscribe rates are totally fine.
And you say moments. What does that mean to you exactly? How are you creating moments?
I'm glad you asked, because traditionally, if you look at D2C, e-commerce, Shopify trend line from the whole year, you'll see a lot of spikes and valleys, specifically during slower periods like now, right? Something that really helped a particular brand achieve their most successful year and their most successful month last year was our help creating moments throughout the year. What I mean by that is not just relying on, the normal holidays such as Labor Day sales or Valentine's Day, but manufacturing moments in between to help build that consistent growth throughout the year instead of seeing those like spikes and those valleys that you normally see.
I see. Okay. And then those moments, I'm guessing it's just determinant on whatever the brand's like persona is or what the core messaging is. Are there anything specifically that create better moments than others, in your opinion?
What most brands will do is they'll put all their money into like big drops, whether that be every 2 or 3 months. When let's say, for example, there's 20 products, right? What we were able to do with this one particular brand is instead of having one drop every 2 months with 20 products, we'll actually have more frequent drops, but in smaller amounts. So we create more of those moments. What I mean by that is
like slow release, you mean? Like release the collection slowly?
Yes, exactly. So we'll call them capsules, and we'll maybe drop 5 new products every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, right? More frequently, so create more of those moments so there's not so many spikes during slower periods of time. Also, we would really leverage a lot of our social proof. So what I mean by that is on the acquisition side, if we have a lot of influencers that we're sending products to, we'll actually create email campaigns specific to highlighting those influencers that are wearing our products, and we'll create like a shop the look or maybe like a layout feel of this, saying like just seen on, let's say, Mackenzie, right? And then we'll showcase an image or what she shared on social media, a link to her like profile to create that social proof. Maybe she has like hundreds of thousands of followers, and then we'll showcase like the products that she was wearing.
Do you link to that post in the email?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. Do you work that out with the influencers ahead of time, or just because you and your team are just so on it, you guys just are mining the feed all the time when people are tagging the brand? I'm curious to hear like your guys' workflow.
We would definitely work in tandem with influencers. We would plan in terms of like, these are the products we're going to send you. If you can create like X amount of assets for us and X amount of posts, and then we'd plan ahead and basically map out every so often, like the months in advance. Like, okay, we know that she's planning based off the contract to create some content in the month of March. So we're going to highlight her in the month of March. And we're going to do this for, let's say, 2 influencers per
I
month.
really like this strategy, man, because if I was like a consumer and I was on the list and I kept seeing these emails of these either famous people, somewhat famous, or people I didn't know, but I'm like, man, they're all over the place and everyone's using their products. I actually think that's really freaking smart. And on the other side, I feel like it could probably negotiate cheaper rates with that influencer. Like, oh, by the way, we also send an email to our list of 300,000 people as
Right.
well. How about you give me a little 20% cut off that price?
100% too. And it helps both ways because it's just another channel that we can help leverage for them to get more followers. So it's just more incentive for them to create more assets as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and could you imagine too, like at that influencer, they got like a percentage of the revenue or something, and just to see like you're willing to send them traffic as well, like it would be a great relationship for the right person.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think the interesting here too is it's just another angle in terms of, we always ask ourselves like how do we build trust on our own audiences, right? And like traditionally, like what everyone does is they just send like reviews, like review testimonials or UGC. Like that is long
Does
and
that
true
work?
gone. Not anymore. Not anymore, I'll say. Not unless you're very specifically choosing reviews that have to do with like very specific products. Just because like the generalized reviews, they're just so often sent out by so many brands that it just lost its meaning. So we're trying to think of different ways, like how do we continue to build trust away from reviews, right? I really think like leveraging those influential like content creators inside of your email channel, super high leverage way to build that trust.
I actually got to give you some credit. This was a while back, but you sent an email. This is quite a while ago, and the email used reviews, but you were very strategic in your reviews. And I'll never forget, and this is why I'm against reviews unless they follow this rule and the rule that I got from you. And that is reviews that are actually helpful. I think if I remember correctly, the email you sent to me like, like 30 grand, 30, like $30,000, something like that. The reviews were, this fits great. I'm like a size 5, but if you're like a size 8, you probably want to go like a size up or size down. It was like reviews like that were actually helpful. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget, you showed that to me and like it clicked. And I was like, reviews only work if it is actually helpful. I love this. This is great. Nobody believes that.
Yeah, no one believes that. It has to sound like it's from an actual person, right? I mean, like, and it has to be practical. I think that's the word, right? Like, how can this relate to me? Like, it has to be super helpful to your point, adds value as well. I guess it's a double-edged sword in that sense, right? Not only does it build trust, but how does it also add value and help your audience understand more about your product?
So, one other example of review I think that could work as well is humor. So I remember this very specifically. There was an ad that we turned into a review on the paid social side, and it was a dog brand, and that they sold dog beds. And that dog brand, there's actually a review that we ripped. It was a 1-star review from the person. It's like, thanks a lot. Now my dog won't even sleep with me. He sleeps in that freaking bed. And like it crushed as an ad. So I think humor can work too. But I want to bring it back to the reviews because some brands have a ton of reviews. Like, is there like a process that you and your team go through to find like reviews that are actually going to make money versus the ones that are kind of useless?
I would say just using like third-party applications in terms of like that allow us to have a dashboard of Rolodex of reviews, and we really just comb through them and see like which ones are very specific, and just humanized, just in general. Like, obviously, there's an incentive to leave a review for most brands, whether that may be like leave a review and get 10% off or 20% off or some sort of incentive, right? So most of the time, people just want that incentive. So it's really hard to sort through the reviews and find like, okay, which of these are meaningful in terms of like which people are leaving a review because they actually love the brand and they love the product versus sorting through the trash, I'd say, of reviews that are just, love this product just for that 10% off, right? That's the hard part. So a lot of it is manual work to start off with, but once you find those, leveraging those across multiple channels, whether it be like, paid social acquisition, even like organic social and just over through email, not just campaigns, but also through your flows and automations. It's super impactful. Yeah.
Kind of bring it back around to what can brands be doing right now when their email is just kind of not printing like it was like the last few months ago. This is something that I learned from you as well, because I've seen you do it, where you send less emails but the brand makes more money over time. So let us just bring it back around. Like, what are some tactical things you and the team are doing to get brands back on track to where email SMS is like printing cash again?
It goes back to creating some of these moments, right? And what I mean by that, it's like, think about really taking the time to think about the upcoming planning for the month and testing different angles for campaigns, because right now we're already prepping for Q4, right? A
Music
lot
to
of
my
people, a
ears,
lot of
dude. Like,
brands.
it's like the sexiest thing you
Yeah.
could ever say to me is like, we're prepping for Q4. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows that everyone's described it, that Q4 hangover, right? Like, you just get out of BFCM, you get over the holiday season, you're a little tired, you're taking a step back a little bit, but no, I mean, our foot does not stay off that gas, right? Our foot is staying on that gas because now we're thinking about, okay, starting in January, starting now, how are we already testing angles for like the upcoming season, right? And what we've done for some of these brands as well, like this particular brand, last year during BFCM, we had multiple flash sales, and we've tested those throughout the entire year. And I think the thing here is like throughout the entire year, from January 2025, we were creating these sense of urgency moments. What I mean by that is when I say a flash sale, these flash sales we're running were 2 hours long. 2 hour flash sales, maybe once every month. But the interesting thing here is we were creating a behavior of our list of not missing out on that moment, right? Because on average, it takes someone 8 hours to open an email,
Does it really?
right? So yeah, it does. It takes someone on average 8 hours to open an email. When you're sending an SMS text, almost immediate, I would say on average like 10 minutes, right? Because it's like an instant notification on your phone. But an email, it's on average around 8 hours, right? So we already understood creating a 2 hour flash sale that's specific to the email channel. Not everyone's going to see it in time. We already understood that. But the behavior that we're creating is if you didn't see it on time, you think to yourself, damn, I missed out on that. I really have to be paying closer attention to these email campaigns that this brand is sending out, right? So we created that behavior, and not only 2 hour flash sales, we tested 12-hour flash sales, but anything under 24 hours. And we saw the biggest BFCM of all time for this brand.
So you were like the Leonardo DiCaprio of retention. You're like incepting them to pay attention to the emails so that they'll be faster to respond and buy.
Yes,
That's awesome.
it's chess, not checkers. So we're already taking it.
I imagine the spinning top. You need to change your profile, have like a spinning top now, because I think that's freaking awesome. So I want to bring back around. You mentioned something, and I got this because I was watching your team strategy call where you guys are thinking about dedicated flows for personas. I just think that is so genius. Tell me about that.
So everyone knows, like, there's just those general foundational flows that everyone sets, right? And set and forget, I hate using that term, but that's typically what a lot of brands do. And you never want to do that, right? We always say at the very base level, always refresh your flows every 3 months. But let's take it a step deeper, right? Let's start thinking about different cohorts of users and what they're purchasing and what they're going to purchase next, right? So obviously, like on a baseline level in Shopify, you can export a report, basically entailing like what if someone purchases a product, what they're most likely to purchase after that, right? So we like to take that a step deeper and create different branches inside of our flows and automations, our post-purchase automations, to basically target specifically what a specific cohort of people, like what they've purchased in that path, what they're going to purchase next, and recommend that to them, and couple that and pair that with reviews specific to that product so that it's very tailored to where they are in the customer and buyer's journey, right? And I think the interesting thing here is understanding where the market trend is moving towards. And what I mean by that is the market is really sophisticated nowadays, right? How I know this is because 2-3 years ago, the split on average for email revenue was about 50% campaigns, 50% flows. That was the normal. That was like the benchmark, right? Now it's shifting. It's shifting to 70% flows and 30% campaigns. So you might ask yourself, why are flows taking more of the revenue nowadays? It's because flows are tailored to the customer and where they are in their journey, right? The messaging is more tailored to leave something in your cart, or maybe it's, I saw you just purchased this makeup set. Maybe you should pair it with this brush, right? So it's more tailored and specific to them versus the campaign, which is just maybe a blanket statement, whether it be like 20% off today, or check out these top 5 staff picks, right? So more general. So as the market gets more sophisticated, so does our strategy.
That can be quite overwhelming for, I guess, for some people who are managing the retention themselves, especially if they have like, 15, 20, 30, 50 different products, for example. So I guess what advice would you give them to just start consolidating? Just a mentor told me one time is that the only way to get started is to jump in the rushing river and then see where it takes you. So like, where would you recommend brand owners just start to creating flows based off those patterns?
I would start with the top 5 best-selling products. So just start creating a post-purchase series. Analyze your top 5 best-selling products. And the reason why is because you want to understand, like, what is the highest leverage action I could take right now, right? Those top 5 will get you the most amount of traffic in your automations and flows and the most amount of data. And then based off that top 5, you can couple that with suggested or recommended products and suggested or recommended reviews, or maybe even like influencers that we talked about, or content creators that are using those things, and pair that inside of the email so that it's more specific to that journey. And because they're the top 5 best-selling products, you're going to see, like I mentioned before, tons of data to review. I would say like try that for the first 60 days. Double down on the automations that are working well, and maybe turn off or adjust the ones that are underperforming compared to your baseline.
And what kind of metrics are you looking at to determine if like something's underperforming or isn't, I guess, optimal from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I would say like click rate. Definitely need that to be like, especially in a flow above like 3%, I would say. And then like your revenue per recipient. So when I say baseline, like I'm looking at the baseline of all of our flows. This obviously varies per industry, but you want to make sure like it's optimized, it's efficient, I guess, right? We're not looking at necessarily like the volume amount of clicks or the volume amount of revenue, but like the revenue per recipient. So every send, how much are you making on average, right? So we're looking at efficiency here when we're testing in like a 60-day period.
I see. Okay. So I want to put you on the spot. There is a strategy you were showing to the team a while back that was making $20,000, $30,000 in some of these strategies. It was for one of our fashion brands, and they were doing these really cool flash deals, not like promos, but I think they were doing like refunds. Does that ring a bell? I'd love to hear about what was that strategy? Like, why is that working so well for some of those brands?
It's different. I think it's completely different. I'm glad you brought this up because this is the same brand that we were manufacturing those moments, right? So we were testing different flash sales throughout the year. Throughout the year. And one of those being, like you mentioned, is we'll be refunding dozens of orders today in the next 24 hours. So just to say, and the angle here isn't just a sale, like a random sale. It's to say thank you for being like a part of our community. We're going to be refunding dozens of orders today and today only in the next 24 hours, right? So 1, it had a sense of urgency attached to it. 2, it's kind of it humanized it to say thank you to our brand, show our appreciation. I think 3, we didn't specify, and this was a test, we didn't specify exactly how many orders we're refunding.
Did that go well or did that backfire?
It went well revenue-wise. There was a few angry...
I imagine it probably crushed.
It crushed. Yeah. And there were a few emails from customer support, but it wasn't anything too alarming.
And I just gotta say, I'm happy to put up with 10, 15, 20, even 30 customer service emails, but it's gonna make me 30 grand, which it made over 30 grand. Like, cool, I'll take that every day.
Yeah, 100%. It's an instant 30 grand injection just for a couple of emails that can be handled. It's totally fine.
So the last thing I just want to bring up is there's so much changing, specifically on retention, email, SMS. Where's like the biggest bang for buck at the moment?
A lot of brands this year, my biggest piece of advice is to really focus in on your deliverability. And
It's so hard too, dude.
it's
Like when it's bad, it's so hard to repair, man.
it's really hard. And the reason why I'm shifting to deliverability here, because obviously like everyone cares about revenue, right? But what people tend to forget about is deliverability. And why that's so important now is because, like you mentioned, Ray, like with all the changes to especially Gmail and Apple privacy, like these email service providers they're really adding more filters to really show their audience more so like things that they want to see, right? As our social media feed gets optimized, so does our email inbox. And what I mean by that is like they're being more strict on like, am I going to put you in the promotions folder, or am I going to put you in the spam, or am I going to put you in the main inbox, right? And that is just you could not make any revenue if you're being placed in like the spam promotions folder, right? You can, but it's going to be very minimal and it's very hard to get out of. So I would say like now more than ever, really hone in on focusing on like your deliverability and what we like to call domain sniping, right?
Such a great
Yeah.
name.
I love domain sniping. And what that is basically like you're running a report and you're trying to understand like, okay, out of all these domains, like AOL, Yahoo, Gmail, Apple, Hotmail, like where are my deltas and where am I underperforming? And how do I snipe that domain specifically so I can bring myself back to the main inbox, right?
So, what are some warning signs that someone screwed themselves and deliverability is just like terrible?
If you're using Klaviyo, look at the trend line in the last 90 days and look at your open rates. If you start seeing your open rates drop drastically, then you know that you're being put in the spam promotions folder. Actually, if you see your open rates drop dramatically, you know you're being put in the spam folder. If you start seeing click rates drop, most likely you're being placed in the promotions folder.
No, that's probably so many people too.
It's a lot of people. I wouldn't say, yeah, the promotions folder is obviously not as bad as the spam folder, but you want to be in that main inbox, man. Like you want to be front and center. You want to be here.
And do you see certain domains are worse than others? Like, I mean, like Gmail just came out with another update, at least that we've experienced, that's makes it even harder. Are there some domains easier than others?
Yes. Hotmail has been very difficult for a lot of brands right now. What I mean is like we're seeing a lot of bounces in Hotmail inboxes. So not only like do you need to pay attention to the clicks, the opens, but also bounces and excluding those, like whether it be soft or hard. And we're seeing a lot of inconsistencies with Hotmail, which is pretty difficult from us. I will say though, Hotmail is usually like 10 to 15% of like all the emails. The biggest volume right now we're seeing across accounts is Gmail. And I will say, although they have a lot of different filters and they have like spam or promotions, it's pretty easy to manipulate that engagement rate.
Yeah.
By just sending to like a higher intent segment.
I'll say too, I'm not sure if it's every device, but like on iPhones, you don't really have the same folders as you would. At least on my iPhone, you don't. So I'm curious, like even some devices, some based off their settings, like you may not even have promotions. At least I don't.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that's why Gmail is easier to manipulate because they have spam, promotion, and main inbox. But a lot of these ESPs still only have spam or main inbox.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
So it's one or the other.
All right. Last thing, I'm just curious. I'm curious what's happening in the world of AI. I know because we use Klaviyo. Klaviyo is the best ESP at the moment for e-commerce. But is there anything happening on the Klaviyo front that they're really leaning into AI to make just email deliverability better or sending and making more money?
That's a great question. Honestly, my team and I have been exploring third-party options that are leveraging AI in the email space. And the reason why is because I feel like Klaviyo has been utilizing AI in different areas, but it hasn't been as impactful as we'd like it to be. As of yet, I feel like it's just so new for them and it's just a bigger company that takes a while for them to roll things out. What I mean by that is like there's AI features such as the reporting, which is an extra fee that you have to pay on top, but also just AI features such as like for copy, writing email, writing subject lines, preview text, or maybe even like planning in terms of like what day they suggest that you send or what time. But some third-party apps that we're looking at that is leveraging AI, um, I would say like more impactfully would be things such as like Pops, that is like a pop-up form that leverages AI to show people pop-ups and different behaviors of that pop-up based on that specific uh, user and like when they're most likely to sign up and convert, right? So things of that nature. There's also like other third-party apps that we're utilizing AI to help with our automations and flows that we're testing right now to basically showcase like a browse abandonment or site abandonment or abandoned checkout. But what it's doing is it's playing around with the not only the layout of the email, but it's also testing in the background like the timing of the email, right? Do we want to send it almost immediately? Maybe it's better because they're still on the website that we're sending it hours later. So that's what we're testing outside of Klaviyo. But to your point, I think like you mentioned, like AI is being leveraged across multiple facets, not just asset creation at this point. Now it's used for obviously like strategic, like direction.
Yeah. Man, I just want to say, dude, thanks for breaking it down for us. And thanks for just educating brands on what they can do just to get their deliverability back. Man, as always, it's a pleasure. Everything you guys do is amazing. Thanks for the strategies, man.
Yep. No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
See ya.